How do you swim the English Channel? Find out on today's episode.
Why do you coach?
Welcome to the Nick Anthony Show. I'm Carly.
And I'm Nick.
How you doing today, Dad?
I'm great. I'm sitting across from my daughter. And it's a beautiful day outside.
It is.
And we're at Dick's House of Sport, which, I mean, Carl, this is pretty cool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just that shot, and everyone can see it, but this place is huge. It pretty much has anything you want related to sports, right? Climbing walls, simulators. I am not facing the golf section, which is a problem right now. I'm looking at bikes and fishing rods, and women's gear. But it has everything, and they were so gracious to us to have us. We're thrilled to be here. And in the end, I guess Anthony's here. So otherwise, Carl and I just would have had a conversation about the Nick Carly show. So how you doing, Anth?
I'm okay. I feel like a long-time listener, first-time caller. But I will say this place is amazing, right? But they have batting cages over there. But the other thing that's really cool that I didn't realize at first is they actually have experts for each one of those. Like they have a baseball expert, they have a soccer expert, or football, depending what, right? They have experts in each kind of this place. So
I think they have a pro golfer.
They have a pro
on staff.
golfer over there, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just you're not just dealing with people that are trying to make a transaction. You're dealing with people that are trying to help you within your sport.
Yeah, and I would say if anyone hasn't been to a House of Sport, go. It is actually different. Not the regular
just go
Dick's,
over the experience.
Dick's Sporting Goods stores
Right.
in themselves are awesome,
Right.
but these House of Sport, it's like Dick's on steroids.
Right. I'm looking at a rock wall right in front of me.
Yeah.
Right here. So
So cool.
Yes,
Anyway.
agreed.
So you're good.
I
Okay.
am
How do you
good.
feel in
It's
the
really-
hot
Yeah.
seat?
it's really weird.
Okay.
It is really a weird
It
thing.
is weird. It actually.
Yeah.
For you too?
Yeah. You look weird. No, I'm just
Thanks.
kidding.
Yeah, that's true. Well, no matter what seat I'm in, that's okay.
Well, one of the big reason I think we kind of gave this format a little bit is, as you know, Carly is a self-proclaimed biggest fan of the show, but also one of the things that I think I'm almost most proud of with Carly is how curious she is, curious to learn, and so when we were talking and about the show, I mean, a long time ago, to be honest with you, Carr would just keep asking me about your marathon swimming.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I was like, yawn. No, you know how I am. I mean, I joke all the time about it, but I also, it is, I can't, it's speech. I'm
superhuman
speechless.
almost.
Yes.
It's not that.
So I was like, you and I
Mm-hmm.
talked, and it was like, well, why don't we have Carly come in and interview you about your marathon swimming? Because sometimes you shut me down a little bit because you're humble. It's not for any other reason. You kind of try to and in this way, I feel like you have to answer Carly's questions. As her father, I'm telling you, so.
Well, I like her.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the lead of we want to, I want Car to kind of do her thing, really, her curiosity to talk about your marathon swimming. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, honestly, I was talking to my dad the other day. I watched some films on you, and I don't know. I listen to this podcast every week, and I don't know if it's the viewers know how impressive what you did, like the scale of it. I mean, and what my dad said, you're so humble that it isn't emphasized enough, and I'm here to open that up a little more, honestly, because I'm so fascinated by the process, the swim. I mean, everything. I mean, especially as we were talking a little bit earlier, I'm a land person, you're a water person. So even just being able to do that in the water. But I guess where I'll start, to me, this is it's such a grand. It's hard for me to wrap my head around this, and even just. I mean, I'm so impressed. I almost feel like a super fan of you right now. So, really,
Thank you. I'm a super fan of yours.
well,
too.
thank you. I'm thinking like this. I know you mentioned in one of the films that you this has always been a dream to swim the English Channel ever since you were a young
Yeah,
kid.
little. Yep.
When did that become less of almost like a dream or a fantasy, almost like a thought, to when did it become like, I'm doing this?
So, thank you. So the English Channel, for people that don't know, it's 20.7 miles, right? You can't wear a wetsuit. You can't wear it, right? So you're dealing with the elements, right? So it's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's a point of emphasis. You can't. There are limit. Like it's not just you jump in the water. So I went, and go, which in itself would be insane to me.
Right.
But go ahead, keep going.
And those are
I'll
the
try not to
people that
interrupt you.
Go missing.
Yes, correct.
Because every once in a while that happens, where somebody thinks that they can swim the English Channel without an escort.
Yes.
Right? So for me, it was always there. It was always just part of my life. And then life happens, and you get married, you have kids, you get into work, you do all these kinds of things, and then all of a sudden, decades have gone by. But it was always, it's going to sound really weird, but it was almost like a hole in me this whole time that I didn't have, I didn't swim the English Channel.
Yeah.
Right? And then I had a couple other things that were important to me in life that kind of got lost in life and I could never go back and do. And so I'll be real candid here. It was, the ticking of the clock.
Yeah.
And I was, I would swim masters meets every once in a while. So I would train and, I did that. I trained for those kinds of things, right? But it wasn't serious swimming. But one day I was in the water and there's this thing in swimming where there's the pace clock, right? Where it helps you figure out what intervals you're supposed to do and that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at the pace clock and I go, I'm 2 months away from being 50. I'm freaking, it might have been a swear word in my mind at the time, but I was to myself. It's like, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
And so I even modified that workout right then to go towards that goal. So I really went from, from a hole in me, from something I really, really wanted to do to like, this is real at that moment.
Wow.
It was just that moment. I was 2 months from my 50th birthday. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
Like you can fool yourself in your 30s and your 40s that you're not really getting older because you're exercising. There's no like fooling yourself when you're 50.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, people call it midlife, but it's not midlife for most people, right?
Yeah. That's interesting that like there's that one instance where it kind of like
It was just a
flipped.
total like, it was always there though, Carly. It was just always there,
Yeah.
but it was just like, I have to do it,
Yeah.
right?
So then, okay, from that moment on, because what I think is, I know some background, but walk me through the preparation, because to a lot of people, it's like, okay, yeah, you swim, you'll physically have to swim a lot and get prepared, but walk us through what the physical, the knowledge you needed to prepare for, the emotional, how was your training, what you did to train for that, really?
So, okay, this is going to sound really weird because the internet today is dramatically different from the internet back then when this started, right? And that you just couldn't go find people, right, that had swam the English Channel. Like it was really hard to do, right, to find talents. And I would go look for books actually to try to like learn.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I knew I had to swim a long way. That's all I really knew when I started.
Yeah.
I knew that I couldn't wear a wetsuit. I knew that kind of stuff. But so I just started swimming a lot.
Yeah.
And then I just kept trying to learn. And I tried to figure out where different swims were going on and that kind of stuff to try to get longer and longer swims. Because the longest I'd ever swam in a race in open water was 2 miles. Now, I did have an advantage. I grew up in California. I grew up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I had a good friend of mine, a guy named Lou Zitnik, who's 10 years older than I am, that introduced me to swimming in the San Francisco Bay. And so when I was 16, right, I swam from Alcatraz to shore. So I had some experience, and people think that's a big deal, but Alcatraz is really, it's not a big deal. It's only about a mile. right?
Yeah.
But but it
For
was still,
non-swimmers,
but
I'm
it's,
like,
it's still cold, right? You still
Yeah.
can't see the bottom.
Yeah.
You still have to deal with the
Wasn't there a
waves.
thought in like Escape from Alcatraz that like if somebody escapes, they're going to drown?
Yeah,
There's
but-
sharks
but like,
or something.
But you're like, yeah, like I'll escape. Like,
So-
and then I'll swim and I'll go back and forth. I'll tease them a little bit and go back and forth
Well,
a few times.
there are people that do that.
I
mean,
know.
it's not that.
I'm
it's
just
really-
kidding. But like, but you again,
that's
that,
the order of magnitude,
like,
right?
When
So-
you say it, Carly and I look at
Yeah.
each other like, what?
I mean,
You know.
to me, and again, like to put this into perspective, like to me, one lap, what is that, 25 meters in a pool?
25.
It
Most pools are yards, but
Yeah.
would
25,
be
yeah.
very challenging.
Right.
So I'm just again emphasizing how impressive even these, your initial races and training or when you're growing up, like that to me is
Right.
is
But-
very.
But
impressive.
you didn't have a plan. Is that like what I just heard you say
it
a
is,
little
but,
bit?
But before we,
Okay.
like most swim practices are miles.
Yeah.
Right, they're you know what I mean. They're miles.
Yeah,
Like any
wow.
swimmer, you go
Okay.
talk to them about their workout, and it's if they think in terms of yards or meters, right, depending on what kind of pool they're in. But if you go do the math, it's miles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Every
yeah.
day, right? So that's when I say it's like, you swim Alcatraz. I'm not even sure it's a full workout.
I see.
Right. So yes, I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to swim a lot, and then I had to go figure out my plan. Right. So I had to go figure out what the rules were, and all that kind of stuff, and all those kind of things. You have to have a boat cap. You have to do all these things, and that took a long time. And in the meantime, I was just swimming a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And then I knew I had to deal with cold water. Right. And so like you'll see.
How did you know that? Sorry.
Because I know the English Channel's
Okay,
cold,
okay.
right? I mean,
That's it, okay.
right, yeah, I
All
mean
right.
that's everybody knows it's cold, right? And so you don't have access.
Everybody but me. I
You-
guess.
Yeah. Follow me.
Oh, all right,
No, I'm just
sorry.
kidding. I'm totally kidding. I
apologize.
would have
The-
researched it too.
okay.
Go ahead.
Nick,
Go ahead.
English Channel's
Yeah,
cold.
I got you. Okay.
No, and actually back then, right? Most I don't know if these facts are totally right, but the facts that I thought at that time were that 5 out of 6 people swimming the English Channel didn't make it. Only 1 out of 6 made it.
Yep.
I don't think those stats are true anymore because they've made it harder to try it, right? So
Yeah.
that the caliber, the preparedness of the swimmer is higher now because
Yeah.
there's more knowledge and that kind of stuff.
interesting.
But most of it is because of hypothermia. It's
Okay.
not the distance that stops people. It's because they can't make it, right? I know a guy who is an ice swimmer who basically that means he can do an ice mile. He can swim a mile in below 40-degree water, right? But there's a difference between super cold for a short distance, like a mile,
Yeah.
and going, 10, 12, 15 hours in moderately cold
Yeah,
water, like
yeah.
60. Like the day I did it, it was 59 degrees, almost all the way to the other side, right?
It was balmy. Go ahead.
Well, compared to the ice mile,
Yeah, I know, I'm
yes,
just kidding.
but he passed out.
Yeah.
At
okay.
3 hours, he literally had to be yanked out of the water because he couldn't handle that temperature for a long, long time.
Okay.
So anyway, but I'm not going off. Yes, I didn't have a plan. I had to go learn a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And I had to learn a bunch of things. And then my first real marathon swim was
Yep.
around Key West.
Yep.
Because my attitude was, so I put it basically in my head, I put a 2-year plan together. And my 2-year plan was swim a lot, go swim the Chesapeake Bay swim, which is 4 miles, and then go around Key West, which is 12 miles. And then I thought I'd be ready for the English Channel the next year.
Okay.
Right.
No.
That was stupid.
Okay.
I mean, it was ignorance, but it was, again, I know it seems really weird, but the internet really didn't exist
Yeah.
back then, right? This is 2010 is when right? And so
The internet didn't exist?
it didn't exist like it does today.
Okay.
Right? Not
I
where
trust
Yeah.
you. I mean, like you did it. So
you couldn't find things.
Now it's so
Yeah.
easy. It's
It's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's just right, and so you can search things, but there just wasn't as much
Yeah, I
there.
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
people weren't
the
putting
search
content.
engines definitely weren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weren't there. There wasn't as much content out there. So
Yeah.
yes, technically it was there, but not the way we think of it today.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I thought I'd swim around Key West, and then next year I'd be ready for English Channel, and Key West was just a disaster. It was an absolute disaster, and so my plan changed.
Go ahead.
So then, okay, you hadn't swum the English Channel yet after Key West. So you're like, okay, after that,
But Key
did
West-
you adjust your training, your prep from that, or were you?
Yeah,
were you
and
kind
so
of,
yes,
Or were you,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you ask your question. I
no,
apologize.
I'm just thinking like, did that two things? Did you did that ever make you reevaluate? Shoot, am I gonna ever be able to swim the English Channel? And one, like reevaluate that, and then two, did you have to make like different adjustments in your training?
Yeah, yes, and yes. I'll just tell you right now. I'll cut to the chase. It took me 4 years from that moment to the time I actually swam the English Channel.
Oh, wow.
4 years.
Yeah.
All right. Because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was learning a ton along the way. I mean, and nowadays, right? Like people have online coaches and that kind of stuff. Like I know there's this incredible woman, Sarah Thomas, who I'd love to have on the show at some point. She coaches people all over the world right now. She limits herself to only 10 swimmers at a time.
Wow.
But you could have access to Sarah Thomas. I mean, my learning curve would have been like this instead of like this. And then as I went, I had these big giant dips. But yeah, so after Key West, I was emotionally destroyed because if I couldn't do 12 miles in warm water, right, and I made it, but I made it like on the skin of my teeth. The last mile was heads up breaststroke, right, in the Atlantic Ocean, just trying to get to the finish line and not pass out. It was not, doing freestyle the right way or anything, right? It was just get there, right? And then I was out of it when we got to shore. I mean, it was just horrible in all kinds of ways. I could spend an hour just talking about that. But
we'll be right back to the Nick Anthony Show.
Love sports? Turn that passion into impact. Coach Across America empowers coaches to make a lasting difference through sports-based youth development training, mentorship, and meaningful community connection. Whether you're an athlete, recent grad, or simply looking for a way to give back, coaching is your opportunity to positively impact the next generation on and off the field. Coaching is the answer, and you can be the solution. Visit coachacrossamerica.org to learn how you can get involved.
Welcome back to the Nick Anthony Show.
But I doubted myself. And then unfortunately, and this is a very awful story, that same October, so that swim was in July. In October of that year, actually a person from Pennsylvania, at the time he was the best American open water swimmer, right? And a gentleman named Fran Crippen out of Germantown Academy area and all that, he died in a race in Abu Dhabi. And what happened is he died from overheating.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Interesting.
And so everybody's afraid of the cold.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks of the heat. Again, this is 2010. I know it doesn't sound like a long time ago, but the mindset of hydration, all that kind of stuff, that's all relatively new, right? Yeah. And he died. Wow. And then that's how I learned, like, holy moly, you can die from being too hot? Yeah. I know it makes me sound really stupid, but what the heck? I mean, that's the truth of my experience. And I was like, and that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I was almost, because what I didn't realize, some of the pain I had was my intestines shutting down, all that kind of stuff after Cuba. I didn't realize till that moment how close I was to death. Yeah. Right? I just didn't know, right? Again, ignorance. But so from there, yes, everything changed. Yeah. Right? So I learned better about how to hydrate. I learned better how to have a feeding plan during my swims. I learned better about all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So then so instead of going to the English Channel the next year, I did a race in Tampa Bay. It was a 24-mile race from the mouth of Tampa Bay up to the top. And then I did another race. And so that was the distance, right? The English, a bit farther than the English Channel. And then I did a swim in Boston, which is called the Boston Light Swim, which is only 8 miles, but cold water. Yeah.
Only so 8 miles.
well, relatively speaking, right? But so I kind of, thinking that, okay, I put those two things together, then I'm ready to go do the English Channel. And so that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, so the Tampa Bay one is longer than the English Channel, did you say?
Well, it's 24 miles, yes.
So then, this may be a dumb question, but why is almost the English Channel race more desirable versus that Tampa one?
Well,
I'm just thinking miles wise.
Well, I think it was iconic. I mean, the first time it was done, it was 1875, and the distance isn't everything. So in the English Channel, if you look at almost everybody's swim, everybody's swim has some kind of arc to it because of the tidal push. The tidal push is huge. Like, go look at a map, and you'll see like tons of water up here, tons of water down here, and this tight channel.
Yeah, we should actually have a graphic of because you probably have your route.
I have a big giant map on the wall. Sorry, I have enough ego that I mean, I'm so proud. I am.
You should.
It was a lifelong dream. I have a map with the
Correct.
course on it,
That's
right?
than doing a
and so, but
podcast.
most people, including, well, yeah, that's my
I'm just
second
kidding.
biggest dream, doing a podcast with you. But so most people, including me, it's like an S because you're out there so long, the tide changes multiple times.
Wow.
So you get pushed way up and you get pushed way down, and then you're trying to hit a particular point in France. You have to try to time it the right way,
wow.
and then you're dealing with a chop that's, for me, it was way more than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is warm water,
Okay.
right?
So there's so many other conditions that-
Yes,
okay.
and so it's just a dramatically different swim. Now, Tampa Bay, still lots of people have done it and are proud of it, and they should be, right? But it's not the English, it's just not the English.
Yeah.
Channel, right? And so yes, so I did that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the 2 swims I did the next year.
Okay. And maybe I'm jumping forward too much, but I know, so I don't know, you attempted the English Channel.
I did. That was year 3.
Okay.
Oh, year
It was
3.
year 3. Okay,
Okay.
so can you,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I know a little bit of background about that, but can you kind of dive into that swim and what happened? Because I have some questions about that when, maybe you weren't on the same page as the crew on your boat, and we can go into that. But
so I was a dope, right? Again, it was just ignorance. I didn't manage it very well at all, right? So, and this
Your
is
first attempt. We're talking about
the first attempt. And so really, it was really embarrassing in so many ways because of my business background, right? I'd been involved with tons of projects, tons of things, and, all that kind of stuff throughout my life. And I just didn't apply any of my business world knowledge to this thing that, to me, was one of the most important things in my life. It was a lifelong dream. I mean, other than my own kids and, that kind of stuff, right? It's a big deal, right? To me, personally, right? But yeah, so you have to train for the distance. You have to train for the conditions, and the conditions might be choppy. These swims are so long, you have to swim at night.
Yep.
So you have to train for swimming at night. You have to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then you have to train for the temperature, right? So I thought I was covered because I did all those things. I shoveled because if you look right, there's a lot of people from Boston or from San Francisco or whatever that have swum. That's where the pockets are of expertise because they have the right temperature water to train in and get used to it. We don't have that here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And so I had to sit in bathtubs. I had to shovel snow with, shorts and flip-flops, that kind of stuff, right? Just to build up my ability to deal with cold. I wanted to change my standard of cold is what I wanted to do. So I did all those things, right? And I thought I was in wonderful shape, right?
Check the boxes.
Not condition, but you know what I mean? Like I thought I had checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
And then I did this, the record, or I don't know, record or not, whatever you want to call it, but Otto Thanning, a guy out of South Africa, was the fastest person over the age of 50 to ever swim the English Channel. And he did it in 10 hours and 29 minutes. That was the record back then for over the age of 50. And, that's about, again, when you're doing marathon swims, the conditions are different every day. And you don't know when you're, really what you're going to get while you're training. So just making it, right, is the goal, right? But I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, that's how fast I swim. That's about my pace, for all my training.
Yeah.
So, but I don't have enough ego or whatever you call it. I didn't want to tell everybody on the boat. So I told, and there's these zones in the English Channel. There's 5 zones. There's along the English coast. There's a shipping lane that goes one way. There's what's called the separation zone. There's a shipping lane that goes the other way. And then there's the French intercoastal water. And it all, depending on where you're on so you can't really say, tell me when I've gone 5 miles because the tidal push might have pushed you 5 miles and you've really only gone 1.
It's like your displacement.
Right. And so, but from zone so I figured out to hit 10:29 where I needed to be in those 5 zones. So I told one guy, I said, tell me when I get to the end of this zone, how I'm doing against this time. I had done the math. And so nobody asked why. Nobody did anything, right?
Yeah.
So, and I had 5 people on the boat because there's multiple people on the boat. There's the captain and their crew. There's the referee. In that sport, it's called the observer, but there's a referee to make sure all the rules are followed. Because
it's official.
Yes.
Like this isn't, again, just for the non-marathon swimming world, like this isn't, like this is an official, like
Sport.
licensed or sanctioned. I don't know
Sanctioned,
that
Yeah, and there's 2 associations in the English Channel, and some places there's only 1, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so, but anyway, and then you have your crew who are the ones that are supposed to throw your feed and water and that kind of stuff. But you can't touch the boat. Nothing can touch you. You can't touch anybody, that kind of stuff. The only thing you can really touch is like your water bottle and your food, right?
And then
that's it.
how do they get you the food?
My system is, so a lot of people actually use like the golf ball retriever extenders things, right? I have a rope and float system. So just throw me my water bottle.
Yeah, I think
right.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
in the film,
that's what
in
I'm
one of the
mentioning.
films.
Yeah.
There's a float on it, and you pull it back.
Which that in of itself, I'm sorry, I just have to mention this, like treading, trying to eat anything or drink something, like that's just crazy to me. I just want to emphasize.
I wouldn't do that at the pull down the street.
No.
Well, I don't think they'd allow that.
He was
That might
just
be a little
treading
weird, but
with nothing else.
Right.
Anyways, like,
so, but anyway, but I didn't do my job at all about coordinating those 5 people that were supporting me.
because at this point you were making good pace, right?
So what happened is that so this guy holds me up the sign, and I hit the first zone. I'm like 5 minutes ahead, right? And then I end up hitting the separation zone, which is the end of the 3rd zone, and I zigzag, all the time. I just it's one of my weaknesses in swimming. I've gotten much better but even back then I was still zigzagging. Well, that's a sign of hypothermia. So there is
If you zigzag.
If you zigzag, right?
Yep.
It means you're losing control, right?
Yep.
So there's a guy on the boat.
Hypothermia is bad.
Yeah, hypothermia is bad, right?
Yeah,
but I'm feeling like fresh.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm hitting the separation zone, and I feel like I just got in the water.
Yeah.
Right, and that's more than halfway at that point for the distance, right? And I'm just
Yep.
like, man, I'm just like so excited. I'm in the English Channel,
Yeah.
boyhood dream. But it turns to night, and I'm zigzagging anymore, so they're freaking out, right? And then we hit the separation zone, and he tells me I'm 10 minutes ahead. And I'm like, I feel super fresh, and so I speed up.
yeah.
Right? Well, guess what? There's this guy on the boat, right, who is freaking out because the second sign of hypothermia is the swimmer speeds up because they're anxious to get out of the water. They're panicking to get out. And it wasn't that. I was trying to do, you probably know it from running or whatever, but you try to negative split some races where you train at least that way to try to do the second half faster.
Yep.
In my head, I'm going to negative split the English
Yeah.
Channel, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard. It's hard to
It's
describe.
crazy.
But like the boats, I don't know if you guys can get it on camera or not. But like the boats from like here to that wall away, right? So you're not really like talking.
Yeah.
Right.
20
Your
feet?
sign and you do come to the boat closer sometimes, and I like to be farther from the boat so I don't accidentally brush it and get
yeah.
DQ'd. They usually like you to be closer, but I zigzag, so I come out, right? But so they're all panicking on the boat. I'm in the water thinking I've got the swim of my life. I've got a shot at this, I think it was 19-year-old record at this point. I'm like pumped, right?
Yeah.
But they're all freaking out in the boat, right? And then, so the captain tells you when and where you leave, right, from England and where on the tide based on your swim times and that kind of stuff, what he thinks you can do. Well, at the time I went, right, the average time for somebody over the age of 50 who made it was 15 hours something, right? And so that means you would have gotten to the French intercoastal water around 12 hours. Well, I got to the French intercoastal water in 9 hours, right?
Gosh.
And so it was like, holy
Yeah.
crap, which good news, right? No, because that means the tide wasn't ready for me, right? So the tide was running against me, and it was running dead against me. And so I went from speeding through the water to, when the tide goes against you, I don't care how strong a swimmer you are, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. Imagine swimming upstream up a river.
So that's so
You-
interesting. It's
you
a
could-
timing thing. You couldn't have.
But
Yeah.
was
Timing.
the timing when you said that it wasn't ready for you when you started? Is that what did I miss that? When you started, when they put you in the water, they said it's time for you. This is a good time.
Yeah, they
is that
picked-
factored in? Right.
But he factored me being in slower. He
Yes,
thought
that's what I
was
mean.
slower.
Yeah. So like,
yes.
And that was based on, not to protect him, based on the feedback from one of the other crew, one of the other 5
who thought you were slow?
that thought I was slower than I was.
Yeah.
Right. So
You showed them. Go ahead.
well,
sorry.
so what happened is I hit this tidal push that just I wasn't making any progress. And so that I knew the time went by, the 10:29, and then the American fastest guy over 50 was 11 hours and 1 minute. that time went by, and then 12 hours went by, and I'm like, yeah, I guess it was like 11 and a half, 12 hours, whatever it was. I was like, okay, this doesn't matter. I'm just in, like, forget time altogether. I'm just in here, right? And so I slow down because I might be, because some people are in there for like 20 hours. So I'm like, oh, okay, I might be on a 20-hour pace instead of a 10-hour pace, and I slow down. Well, guess what the third sign of hypothermia is?
Slowing down.
Slowing down. When your stroke rate slows down. And so now everybody's all freaked out, right? That kind of stuff. And so anyway, so I got within a half mile of shore, and what I didn't know at the time, somebody had died in that spot 3 weeks previous. And that had everybody, you know, because that had been the first time in 10 years anybody had died. And so everybody was skittish about it, right? And it was like, you get a captain's order to get out. You have to get out or you don't have to come back. So the captain gave me an order to get out. And I had to get out with half a mile to go.
Please join us for part 2 next week for our interview with Anthony. Thanks for joining us for today's show. We want to hear from you with your questions and comments. You can find us at thenickanthonyshow.com and our social media handles, which you can find in our description.